This episode is brought to you by Loom by Atlassian. Are you feeling stuck at work? Get your team unstuck with Loom video messaging and move work forward. Use Loom to simultaneously record both your screen and yourself to share a quick update, provide feedback, train a colleague, and everything in between. Plus, add Loom AI to your meetings for instant written notes and recordings. Try Loom today at Loom.com. That's LOOM.com.
I'm still waiting for those April showers, the ones that bring the sweet, sweet May flowers. But in the meantime, let's just talk about the news of the week. Today on CityCast Las Vegas, we've got Nevada Current reporter Michael MJ Lyle and our producer Layla Muhammad, and we'll be discussing the fallout from an ill-fated trip with school kids on the heat-treacherous trails near Lake Mead, the concerns following the apparent expansion of ICE deportation activities in the valley, and another Resorts World kerfuffle, this time with someone named MrBeast. It's Friday, April 18th. I'm David Figler, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. MJ, Layla, welcome to the Friday News Roundup.
Good morning, all.
Good morning, y'all.
And before we get started, the team here at CityCast would like to send our condolences to the friends and family of Elaine Wynn. Elaine was a longtime Las Vegas businesswoman, philanthropist, and community pillar whose legendary partnership with her ex-husband Steve Wynn changed the face and the skyline of gambling and hospitality in Las Vegas forever. She will be missed. All right, guys, we like to start with the hot ledge line because the legislature is in session. And if Sarah Lohman was here, she'd be going, hot ledge line.
Hot ledge line.
Yeah, she's the best. So something called Reba's Law has made a last-minute comeback in the legislature. You'll remember that there was a bulldog found in a sealed container back in July of 2024. The dog only made it an extra day before it passed away. The dog was named Reba by an animal rescue group, and a reward was posted for info leading to the arrest of anyone involved in it, and an arrest was in fact made. 2 people got arrested back in December. Those folks are facing 1 to 4 years in prison. Their trial is set for this summer. But the story itself inspired legislatures to pass much harsher punishments for animal cruelty because that's how we work here in America. This bill, AB 381, looked like it was not going to advance. It missed the deadline to proceed, but thanks to a little used procedure called a waiver, an agreement by the Senate and Assembly leaders to let it move forward was signed, and it is back. AB 381 will increase the penalty to 10 years and broaden liability to anyone who lets an animal be treated cruelly. Just a little side note, the dog's actual name was Nike, but for one day it was Reba, so now it's all about Reba. All right, so that one's going to be debated. Now that the legislature's first deadline has passed, are there any other bills you were surprised to see get dropped, MJ?
I was actually kind of shocked that they did not advance the larger red light camera bill. There still is one more that allows it, a smaller version of it, to operate in construction zones, but a larger one that had been talked about through the interim pretty lengthily. Like, it did not survive deadline, and so I don't know if it will be revived, but I was actually a little bit pleasantly surprised that that did not advance. There was a lot of back and forth between lawmakers, even Republicans and Democratic lawmakers, about the need for this. And then civil rights groups and legal aid groups were just worried about just some of the harms that would come from this. So I'm
potential abuse.
Yeah, and we've seen that across the country as used as a revenue stream for a lot of counties that implement red light and speeding cameras. And so,
yeah.
But Metro had been pushing for it to say that they is needed to address the rising number of street fatalities. But yeah, I was actually surprised it did not advance out of committee.
I think there is still a bill, though, that's similar to it, but only in construction zones.
Yeah,
which I thought was interesting that one passed, but the more general one didn't pass.
Yeah, I'm surprised with all this talk about privacy and potential abuses that nobody has taken up all the license plate readers that are apparently already on the streets and being utilized because, I don't know, you go to a protest and you want to know everyone who came and who drove them. That would be an easy way to do it. Just saying, Ledge. Well, there's going to be more highs and lows and resurrections from the dead bills, like always, so we'll keep an eye on that for sure. All right, let's get into our first story. A school out of Arizona came our way. They were cited for requiring a rescue from Lake Mead. Layla, the story came up recently, but now there's been some consequence. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, so it initially sounded very dramatic. It was still pretty dramatic, but with more information that came out, we kind of get a bigger picture. So Fox 5 reported that a micro school in Kingman, Arizona was cited for not having a permit and creating a hazardous condition after a group of 28 hikers were rescued by the National Park Services on Wednesday, April 10th. An initial social media post by the Lake Mead Recreation Area said rangers responded to a large-scale rescue involving 3 adults and 25 children with special needs, which sounds shocking,
Yeah.
right? Later on, an administrator from the school, Dr. Catherine Normoyle, clarified in a letter to parents that was obtained by Fox 5 that there were 10 adults and 18 students, with 3 students identified as special needs based on their education, but not outside of that, which is way different from the initial reporting. Dr. Normoyle also stated to parents that while the student who called search and rescue did what they thought was right, and she applauds them for that, the group was 2 miles away from the parking lot on their return trip when one student started to feel ill. So it made more sense to just go ahead. The Lake Mead recreational area claimed the group was not adequately prepared to reach the nearby Arizona hot springs, but the administrator said that they adequately prepared with water, powdered hydration packets, and food in response to this and other recent rescues, actually. The Arizona Hot Springs Trail and Gold Strike Trail were temporarily closed, but as the time of this recording, both trails are now open, according to the National Park Service website, but will close for the summer when day-to-day temperatures start to rise. And so I think the initial reporting of this story really took off, but then we got a little bit more clarification from the administrator of the school.
Yeah, I think because there was also a unrelated death of a hiker right off of the Arizona
The day
Hot Springs
before, I
Trail,
think.
too. Yeah, that it really did sort of hit local media hard. MJ, do you think local media maybe blew the story a little out of proportion?
I would like to give the benefit of the doubt that they were responding after the facts that they had, but there was so much detail that came out after the fact. You'd think that would be some type of... I'm curious what their process was for reporting the story, and if there was attempts to reach the school to verify that before we kind of put out this information and just simply relied on what the Park Service was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Layla, do you think that there's just an inherent bias from all of us? Because we know those trails and we know that you have to take precautions. I mean, there are challenges out there for outdoor activities throughout the valley. Do you think our city should be more proactive because these stories are going to happen whether or not they're accurately reported or not?
I think that's a tough one because knowing the Arizona Hot Springs Trail, and as a hiker myself, when I went on that trail, it was harder than I realized. So when I saw the story that a group of children were taken, and whether it was 25 children or 18 children like it actually was, that's still a lot of kids to take on that trail for a field trip on a strenuous hike. The hike is labeled on the National Park Service website as strenuous. So I think we might need to be more creative as a city for field trip options. I know as a kid growing up in Las Vegas, I went to the Springs Preserve probably like 3 to 4 times a year for field trips because that was one of the only places that had indoor areas, that had outdoor areas when the weather was nice, that were safe to take a big group of kids on a field trip. So I think maybe our community does need to be more proactive to provide safer options for field trips. But I mean, if this school wanted to take kids on a hike outside, then they were going to take kids on a hike outside either way.
I wonder, and I guess this puts in the context of this too, I wonder if it has to do with just a decrease in employees working in the areas right now, if that's just an added concern of why there is a little bit more freaking out. Like, we don't have necessary resources to respond if anything happens. And so we're kind of on extra alert right now. So
yeah. I also think it's important to note that the student who called search and rescue, like the administrator said, they thought they were doing what they should be doing and helping their fellow student. But the administrator said that she would have loved to be alerted first because they did have a plan for students who felt sick. So I think also it's just, the risk of taking students places and them having access to phones. And yeah, maybe one of them will call search and rescue and the adults in the group won't know. So I mean, I've been on hiking field trips as well. And my class did get lost on a hiking field trip, I think in Mount Charleston once. And it wasn't during the summer, so we were fine. But it does get nerve-wracking. And if we had access to phones, one of the students might have called in that situation.
There's not always going to be reliable cell service in remote areas, too. And just based off what MJ said, it does seem like it would be a smart idea to have a government employee who knows the area there for check-in, especially with larger groups, and so that they could just kind of go over ground rules, deal with a couple of contingencies, know who's out there. And, Lake Mead is a national recreation area, so I'm sure that they're suffering from the recent spate of cutbacks. So, to be proactive and have more folk out there to be able to engage, especially with the school kids, seems like, I don't know, maybe more of these type of events to occur without that sort of proactive intervention. I guess last question, the school in Kingman has been cited. I don't know if they're going to fight it or not, but do you think these citations are a message to other groups about potential recklessness or preparedness?
So they are going to pay the citation. The administrator said that no issue, they're going to pay it.
Okay.
And they also said that they've canceled hiking field trips for the foreseeable future. So I think
the kids are suffering with that. So.
Right? And if anything, the embarrassment of this whole incident probably was more of a sign to maybe we shouldn't do hiking field trips like this and might deter other schools from doing it just on the off chance that a student calls search and rescue and it turns into this whole big thing.
Yeah, I mean, natural wonders are there for everyone, but whether you're a kid or an adult, you have to be prepared. So hopefully lessons learned for everyone.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast. We've all set health goals: lose weight, exercise more, eat better. But without a plan, those goals often fade. That may have happened to you. It has definitely happened to me. And that's where Prolon comes in. Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet gives you a science-backed, structured approach to stay on track and see real results. And now Prolon is upping their game with the new next-gen 5-day program, delivering the same science-backed benefits in a cleaner, more convenient, and more flavorful format. Prolon is a plant-based nutrition program featuring soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state, triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. Next Gen builds on the original Prolon with 100% organic soups and teas, a richer taste, and ready-to-eat meals. Developed over decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by top U.S. medical centers, Prolon has been shown to support biological age reduction, metabolic health, skin appearance, fat loss, and energy. I've been doing the 5-day program, and I feel so much better. I really enjoy the tasty energy bars, the snacks and soups, and the fact that I can enjoy meals, even though the calorie count is super low. The flavors and textures are excellent. An olive oil snack here, broccoli and quinoa soup there, hibiscus tea, a yummy nut bar. It's got the benefits of a 5-day fast, but doesn't have the challenge of doing it with pure liquids. It's a system reset. And also, I know this sounds funny, but it's not. The packaging and directions are fantastic, clear, and well-organized and thoughtful. For a limited time, you can be first in line to experience the new Next Gen at special savings. Prolon is offering CityCast listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/city. That's PROLONLIFE.com/city to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/city.
This episode is brought to you by GMC. When you have 4 new tires, every drive feels fresh. Right now, buy 3 select tires and get 1 for just $1 during the GMC Certified Service Fresh Start Tire Event. Visit gmc.com/service offers or see dealer for full details. At participating U.S. GM dealers only. Highest or equal value tire will be $1. Offer ends 5/31/2025. Not available with other offers.
Topic number 2. This is one that's just hitting everywhere in the nation, and Las Vegas is not immune. Immigration coalitions are addressing rumors of ICE expansion in southern Nevada, bent on deporting folks, detaining folks. MJ, you just wrote about this for the Nevada Current. We encourage people to read your stories on this. So what's going on?
Yeah, so the Nevada Immigrant Coalition has had a couple of press conferences this week to talk about potential enhanced immigration action happening in Southern Nevada this week. I will say I've reached out to ICE, I've reached out to Metro to try to see if I can verify some stuff because there are a lot of things is still unverified and just kind of word of mouth. And by word of mouth, I'm not just talking about people in the community. I'm talking about immigration attorneys too. They were on these press conferences talking about just what they're hearing from their clients. There have been some videos that have circulated. Those have not been posted online. They've been circulated privately. I have seen some of the videos, but they can't be published because they're not substantiated, but of potential immigration action in some areas. This is not uncommon for what we've seen across the country, but we just have not seen it in Southern Nevada. Regardless of what's happening, it is definitely creating a chilling effect in the community, and people are terrified that the things that we're seeing across the country, we're going to finally start seeing here in Southern Nevada.
So have there been confirmed arrests by these plainclothes immigration agents in Las Vegas? You mentioned videos. Are we likely to start seeing local dramatic footage of, I don't know, car windows being smashed or people grabbed in the street that are making the rounds in other cities?
That's, I think, the fear among these groups and among attorneys, immigration attorneys in the community, is that there is going to be a bigger presence of plainclothes agents, and not just immigration enforcement agents, but FBI agents working as immigration enforcement agents, ATF agents, other types of federal agencies also taking up the task of immigration enforcement. We've heard rumblings of people being detained already. One attorney that spoke on a call recently with the Immigration Coalition said that the people that they've heard have been detained had previous criminal records, but they weren't sure what type of criminal records were. When they've been asked what type of numbers they have, they don't really have those. They're trying to get verification on their end. And again, I've reached out to Metro myself. I know other reporters have, and they have not responded to requests to comment about what they're hearing from their end. And so there's nothing concrete. I hate to say there is a lot of, it's not speculation. Things are happening. We don't know to what extent yet. Attorneys are advising clients to be more cautious this week when driving or even just going out. So there's a presence here. We don't know exactly what the targeted populations are, what type of criminal histories are, but this kind of goes with this overarching theme that we're seeing from this administration across the city of not answering a lot of questions about who they're targeting.
Yeah, the CityCast Las Vegas team got an email from the Culinary Union this week saying that the Nevada Immigrant Coalition has confirmed that ICE has detained an unknown number of Nevadans since Monday. So I feel like this is so new that everyone's just trying to find what information they can. In those stories that you both mentioned, one of them was a Tufts student who got grabbed on the street by plainclothes officers. And in reports, it seems like she was taken from Tufts in Massachusetts to a detention center in Louisiana.
And what struck me is when, you see, and this was in your reporting too, MJ, about UNLV students who were here on legal visas, having those visas revoked and not knowing the fate of these students. I mean, it is happening here too.
It is. UNLV confirmed a couple weeks ago that 4 international students had their visas revoked. They have not updated. I have not seen any updates about their fate of them, and they were not going to identify the students in accordance to federal privacy laws. And so we don't know much about these students, what's happened, why they're being revoked. Some of the instances that we've seen across the country of visas being revoked for students, for international students, have just simply been for their beliefs. Some have been in, like the tough students who wrote an op-ed in their student newspaper about the atrocities that are happening in Gaza. And that was enough for her to face immigration enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, really running afoul of the First Amendment, which most immigration attorneys will tell you extends to everyone who's here legally,
Yeah.
Including kids here on visas. What's more troubling, I think, is not knowing the fate of these 4 UNLV students. Like, we should be knowing what the process is. It should be transparent, especially if they're, being sent back to their home countries or somewhere worse, because we have seen, again, many accounts of somewhere worse. So, MJ, before we move on to the next question on this, I mean, you were at these press conferences. There was talk of video. What was the context of these videos? I want to follow up on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the pressers, they talked about at least 8 men that were detained by plainclothes-looking officers. I asked to kind of see the video and got a little sneak peek, and it did look like a Vegas neighborhood in plainclothes, but like I said, a lot of this isn't verified. And then another video that I think is circulating around social media but hasn't been published is a Vegas neighborhood. But again, we don't know the context of these stops, of the individuals that were being questioned and potentially detained by law enforcement agents in plain clothes. But this is what they're talking about in the press calls about these videos starting to pop up. And I think once we get more information, I think more in the public might see these videos come out, or we might see more videos like this. So
now, the immigration attorneys at these press conferences, et cetera, are talking about tactics that are being used this time around by ICE and that they're kind of weary of them. What sort of tactics are they talking about?
I think the plain clothes thing is big. Like, I don't think some of these immigration attorneys have said they haven't seen that in previous years, the number of plainclothes officers going out and doing enforcement efforts. I think that's one thing. And even just, they haven't touched on this too much, but I think the question that we've seen around the country is just ignoring the obvious rights of individuals. So one of the Know Your Rights points that they say in all these events, all these press calls, every Know Your Right event I go to, they talk about the difference between a judicial warrant and an administrative warrant. And if they have a judicial warrant signed by the court, that means they have to let you in. If it's an administrative warrant, they don't have to let you in. But in videos, there was a video of Massachusetts in particular of them asking to see the warrants. ICE would not comply. They said, we're just waiting for an immigration attorney, and ICE took a sledgehammer to their window. And so I think we're seeing more instances like that across the country. And so I think immigration attorneys here are worried about all the tactics that we're seeing across the country aren't going to be ruled out or out of the question to come here in Nevada.
So there have been a lot of these kind of flyers. I got an unsolicited text message. I shared it with Layla. I see it on Instagram where people are, circulating this community response, know your rights when ICE comes around. Are people concerned, you think, about confrontations with these ICE officers, regular citizens just yelling at them? And I guess, has ICE pushed back? How do people stay safe? What's happening?
I mean, some have pushed back. I mean, there's instances in LA recently where ICE officials showed up on campus and they just wouldn't let them in. And so there are some pushbacks in unpolite manners. So all these Know Your Rights events, I think, for some reason, immigration officials are saying like they're illegal, which they're not. Know Your Rights events are just simply that, knowing your legal rights as a person in this country, as a human being in this country. Like you have them no matter if you have documentation whatsoever. I think the question and the concern from some in the community is what happens when immigration enforcement officers show up and they don't care about my rights.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different categories: asylum seekers, legal residents, students on visas, people visiting. They all seem to be very vulnerable without exception. I mean, Layla, what happens when you see something happen in front of you? What do you do?
I mean, that's a tough question because you have to take into account like your own status and what you can do for that person. But I think, as a community, we want to stand up and help our community members and our neighbors. We're going to put a link in the show notes to a resource where you can find loved ones who may have been detained. But I think the Know Your Rights events are important. So, if you do find yourself in that situation of something is happening in front of me, maybe it's not happening to you, but something is happening in front of you, then you can know what to do, how to help.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. Introducing the all-new, all-terrain Honda Passport Trail Sport, the most off-road capable Honda Passport Honda has ever dreamt up. The Passport features increased ground clearance, roof rails on all trims, and available specially developed all-terrain tires. And you'll stay comfortable with tri-zone climate control and available features like heated and ventilated front seats and a panoramic moonroof. Learn more at honda.com/passport.
Clorox Sentiva smells like lavender. Cleans like Clorox. And feels like...
All right, that could go on for a while. Experience the long-lasting freshness of Clorox Sentiva. Available in Clorox Sentiva Lavender Scented Bleach. Use as directed.
All right, moving on to topic 3, which is supposed to be the fun topic. We always do this to you, MJ. We always bring it down before we try to bring it up. But this is kind of like a mixed bag, too. This is about the troubled resorts world. Oh, my gosh. Can they catch a break? So since its short time on Earth, Resorts World, which is built on the former grounds of the Stardust, has seemingly had a lot of troubles even getting built. But once open, a lot of, as I say, kerfuffles. There was an art installation that went sideways. There was a war with the wind that they definitely lost. And not to mention the fact that the CEO of Resorts World was arrested, indicted, and convicted on money laundering related charges, and that the Resorts World itself got an almost record fine of $10.5 million from the Gaming Commission. So what else could they do wrong? So they've changed leadership over there. They've got new people on the board. They had an event that was proclaimed to be an immersive experience with MrBeast. Now, to explain what MrBeast is to anyone under the age of 30, I think. I don't know.
That's fair.
We'll probably take up an entire episode. So go Google it on the YouTubes. Go see MrBeast is very, very popular.
Like one of the biggest YouTubers.
Probably the biggest YouTuber. And he does all these various skits and stunts and gives away a lot of money. And he's very, very popular and people are into him. That's all you need to know. Enough so that a lot of people paid $1,000 each for an immersive MrBeast experience at the Resorts World. Now, MrBeast might be familiar to some of our listeners because just recently there was a MrBeast problem. They were going to stage an event at Allegiant Stadium. That resulted in a spew of lawsuits alleging physical abuse and sexual harassment and food deprivation and a bunch of other stuff. So why wouldn't Resorts World want to jump on that bandwagon? Anyway, so the complaint was that the people didn't get anything near what they had anticipated, sort of a Fry Festival of
I was just saying,
disappointments.
it's giving Fire Festival.
Yeah. Fire Festival, that was it, right? So the complaint was they were supposed to get a special one-of-a-kind gift. It was just a box of chocolates. They were supposed to get exclusive MrBeast merchandise, and it turned out to be stuff on the clearance rack of the MrBeast website. And most importantly, for most of the people there was no MrBeast. One disgruntled ticket holder said, I go to a Tom Brady experience. I see Tom Brady. I come to a MrBeast experience. I see nothing. And there's some videos circulating that somehow all these disgruntled folks got a FaceTime with the new CEO of Resorts World, and they just let him have it.
Because that's what everyone wants.
It's like, welcome to the new job. So this has been blowing up on Reddit. People are just like Some are blaming MrBeast. A lot are blaming Resorts World. I just got to ask, is Resorts World cursed? Can they handle any more financial controversies like this?
They're getting refunded, right? Isn't that the newest update that they're saying that they're going to get refunds?
Yeah, and I also saw that MrBeast had some communication with Las Vegas locally and said that he was offering something to the disgruntled patrons.
I think they could come check out his studio back east or something. So another trip, another plane ticket, whatever. Seemed very weird event. And I wonder if Resorts World, built on the bones of the Stardust, might be haunted by the ghost of Lefty Rosenthal or something.
Oh, yikes. I think this was definitely a cursed pairing. MrBeast, who has had troubles in Las Vegas before, and Resorts World, who is just coming off of a huge financial issue. I think them teaming up probably was a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. Anything to save the brand, and yet the brand continues to be diminished.
I keep thinking about this April Corbin-Gurnis piece from a couple years ago about Resorts World being one of the top employers or the largest employers with Medicaid recipients in the state. I think they've climbed. They're not on the top 10 list anymore, but they're still top 15 as of this. But so maybe it's, a little bit of karma for
maybe.
Well, let's shift gears on that then. What celebrity could have pulled off what MrBeast and his brand were trying to do in Las Vegas at Resorts World? I mean, would there be a better fit, you think?
This was hard because I was trying to think of a celebrity who could have an experience that could charge $1,000, and even if they didn't show up, their fans would be happy with some kind of experience. And the only thing I was thinking of is it would have to be a type of movie exhibit with memorabilia. Like if Martin Scorsese had an exhibit about all of the movies that he's done with collectibles from the movies and behind the scenes looks. He wouldn't have to be there, but that would maybe still hold value.
But for that amount of money?
Oscar Goodman's jacket from Casino or Joe Pesci's shoe shine kit from Goodfellas?
That's a good question, MJ. For that amount of money, too, they would have to have themed hotel rooms. But I don't know if I would want a Shutter Island themed hotel room.
I mean, but $1,000. I do want a sit down at that point.
Yeah, a sit down with Martin Scorsese. That would be great. I would
not even, it doesn't have to be a full. It could be 30 seconds of whatever, and then that's
it. A presentation, a keynote speech.
You get to watch him eat one meatball.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go. Who would you pick, MJ?
Oh, for $1,000? Girl, it is rough out there with these tariffs. I don't know.
That's why they're doing these events. The celebrities got to make money, too.
I know. Literally the first one that came to mind was Issa Rae, but I don't know what experience. I don't know why she would charge $1,000 just to chill with her, and so
insecure experience that might
be insecure experience would be great.
And I think Insecure, just generally speaking, would be on brand for Resorts World.
Yeah.
In name only. I'm going to throw out that the best experience where the celebrity doesn't show up would be a Tupac experience or an Andy Kaufman experience, where the suggestion that they might show up would be there, but no one would be disappointed if they didn't.
Hologram. Tupac hologram will show up.
Yeah, either way. Oh boy, Resorts World, we're rooting for you. I'm always rooting for the north end of the strip. I want them to do well. It's just missteps. It's disheartening.
Yeah.
Especially, how do you mess that up? All right. Well, another wild week in Las Vegas. I mean, we don't have anything but. MJ and Layla, thanks so much for joining us on the Friday News Roundup.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys.
And that's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. Our executive producer is Sonia Cho Swanson. Our producers this week were Layla Mohammed and Lizzie Goldsmith. Our newsletter editor is Rob Coucheries. And our hosts are Sarah Lohman and me, David Figler. Music is by OG Moose, All the Kimonos, Wendy Marcini, courtesy of EpidemicSound.com, and Abbas Premji from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. We record this show on the traditional homelands of the Nuuvi, the Southern Paiute people. If you enjoyed the show, hey, go tell a friend. You could also rate our show, leave us a review, we love reading them, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Las Vegas. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Till then, stay lucky. I'm going to say that instead of thwart, because I don't want to get arrested. To thwart. Hold on.